Today's episode involves flying. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going back to the mid-1980s. Not literally, we're just going back to a movie from that era, starring this guy. I'm talking about the cinematic masterpiece from 1986, Top Gun, starring Tom Cruise. If you have not seen Top Gun, that is a crime against humanity. Or you've been in jail or a coma for the last 30 years. But spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, go and see it, then come back and watch this. Top Gun was released in 1986 and is a film which centres around a daring daredevil Navy fighter pilot, Pete, aka Maverick Mitchell, played by Cruise. Maverick has a reputation for being a bit of an egotistical cowboy and pushing the boundaries and being dangerous with his flying. He is chosen by his squadron leader to represent that squadron at Miramar, an elite fighter pilot training school, where he will go up against the best in a bid to become one of the nation's elite pilots. It is there where he develops rivalries against other testosterone-filled wannabe guns for hire, notably Iceman, played by Val Kilmer. Maverick's right-hand man in the film is Goose, played by Anthony Edwards. The two are portrayed as best friends, a bit like Batman and Robin, you could say. Things turn south when Goose is killed in an accident. Maverick then loses his mojo and eventually quits, as his no. His heart does not go on. Attempts to talk him into returning by love interest Charlie, played by Kelly McGillis, fall on deaf ears. But eventually, a good talking to by the Godfather himself, Viper, played by Tom Skerritt, gets him back in the saddle. Eventually, Maverick and co are called upon in a real-life situation as tensions between the USA and Russia rise. Naturally, Maverick, being the lead in this movie, dominates this part of the film, making everyone else look bad. In the end, Maverick returns to Fightertown, where it all began, and reunites with his love interest in the film, Charlie. Anyway, on to 5 facts that will take your breath away. Number 5. The film was another collaboration by Adrenaline Maestros Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Simpson, whose resume at that point had included films such as Flashdance and Beverly Hills Cop. Other notable actors who had medium roles in the film included Meg Ryan, Michael Ironside and Tim Robbins. One interesting fact is Cruise wasn't sold on the idea of playing Maverick and was initially reluctant to star in the film. The producers were fixated on the idea of casting him. However, it took a fair amount of persuasion to talk him into it. In the end, executive producer Jerry Bruckheimer arranged for Cruise to go for a ride with the Blue Angels aerobatic team, who fly F-18 Hornets. Only in the dreams of ordinary men. Number 4. Ray-Ban sales spiked into the stratosphere after its 1986 theatrical release. The sunglasses that Maverick wears throughout the film is now part of cinema folklore. Cruise actually wore Ray-Bans 3 years earlier in Risky Business, a kind of precursor, you could say, to the now iconic role of Maverick. Yep, totally looks like somebody I know. Number 3. The US government helped bankroll the film, which allowed the producers access to the required fighter jets and aircraft carriers for just $1.8 million. There was one condition, and that was that Bruckheimer and Simpson had to submit the script to the Pentagon for review to ensure that the Navy was portrayed in positive light. One of the script changes was Goose's death scene. Originally, it was that Goose was going to cark it in a mid-air collision, but the Navy didn't like that, as there had been too many Navy pilots crashing at that time. Instead, the script had to be altered to Goose dying after not ejecting properly when the F-14 went into a flat spin. Number 2. Director Tony Scott spent $25,000 on the fly. Whilst filming on a US Navy ship and after multiple takes on a certain scene, Scott was still not satisfied and needed another take. He asked the ship's captain to change course, so that the natural light would match up with other takes. However, the captain refused, as changing course would cost the ship an additional $25,000 in fuel. Scott then promptly wrote a cheque for $25,000 and handed it to the ship's captain, who then changed course to allow Scott to get his scene. Who on earth would ever spend $25,000 just like that? Number 1. Top Gun may be a cinematic masterpiece, but it contains the worst scene in cinema history.
You never close your eyes.
Yeah, I do. And my ears too for that scene. Maverick eventually lands his jet in Charlie's pants, played by Kelly McGillis. This is the scene where they first meet. It's cringeworthy to say the least, watching Cruise butcher a Righteous Brothers classic. So if you're busting mid-movie, well, this scene here is your cue to slip off to the bathroom and close your eyes, and your nose for that matter, and squeeze that bad boy out. And finally, the film ends with a proper version of the Righteous Brothers classic, You've Lost That Loving Feeling. Finally, my ears are back to normal. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. My name's Julian. Until next time, I am relaxed. Adios.